Hello, my name is Sheldon Mattson, and this is my presentation for Animal Science 313, Exercise Physiology in Animals. The topic I have chosen to research is whether or not spaying greyhounds directly affects their racing performance. The article I chose to base my discussion off of was written by Richard M. Payne and published in the Veterinary Journal. The article title was The Effect of Spaying on the Racing Performance of Female Greyhounds. In his experiment, Payne looked at greyhounds attached to single tracks versus those that traveled and raced on multiple tracks. This resulted in 483 greyhounds in total being recorded. He used data from the racing periods 90 days post-estrus to the next estrus cycle and looked at the race distances and race times. He then grouped the data into three separate groups: those that were spayed before the racing career, those that were spayed at some point during the racing career, and a control group that was never spayed before or during the racing career. This experiment came about because greyhound racing is a popular sport in many areas of the world, including England. As a result, the Greyhound Board of Great Britain, also called the GBGB, funded this experiment and had a vested interest in the results. Previous experimental results have shown that the estrus cycle has a detrimental effect on the racing performance of female racing greyhounds. Current methods to decrease or eliminate the detrimental effects of the estrus cycle usually consist of costly and often time-consuming medical treatments throughout the greyhound racing career. Nowadays, we know that spaying prevents the estrus cycle from occurring and therefore prevent its effects. Currently, research shows that spaying has added health benefits in the long run too. As a result, the goal of the experiment was to see if spaying had any direct effects on the racing performance of the female greyhounds and if it could be used as an alternative to the current costly and time-consuming medication used. Greyhounds have a rich history dating back to ancient Egypt. They are a medium-sized dog which grows to be about 60 pounds with wide variation in colors. They have long, lithe bodies and very long legs, which have made them popular for racing sport. Greyhound racing, while it has declined, is still a popular sport in certain parts of the world, including England. The estrus cycle, which is what potentially causes problems with the racing performance, is a natural reproductive cycle where the bitch comes into heat and is ready for breeding. There are four phases to the estrus cycle: anestrus, proestrus, estrus, and diestrus. Diestrus is the phase that most affects the animals. It lasts about 16 days of the 21 total days of the estrus cycle, and is the period in the cycle where progesterone is the highest. Therefore, diestrus has the largest effect in racing performance because progesterone levels have been shown to decrease exercise performance. For these reasons, owners and trainers aim to prevent the estrus cycle, specifically the diestrus period or phase, from occurring in female racing greyhounds. To further support my discussion, another article I found, written by the same author, Richard M. Payne, and published in the same journal, the Veterinary Journal, was titled The Effect of Diestrus on the Racing Performance of Greyhounds. In this separate experiment, which is also funded by the GBGB, Payne used data from 4,453 racing greyhounds, and the data was collected by the GBGB through the law that requires trainers to report the estrus cycles of racing female greyhounds. The race distances and race times were recorded. The data was then split into two groups: bitches that had had at least one estrus cycle previously, and those that had had no estrus cycles previously. The result of the experiment indicate that the estrus cycle, especially the diestrus phase, decreases exercise performance and therefore the racing performance of female racing greyhounds. Spaying is the removal of the female reproductive organs, which include the ovaries and the uterus. Spaying is a one-time procedure if done right and is usually performed by a licensed veterinarian. Removing the reproductive organs eliminates the hormones they make and eliminates the changes in the hormones that are a result of the estrous cycle. It is this change in hormones that potentially decreases exercise potential. Spaying bitches greatly reduces the future risk for mammary cancer and furthermore has other health benefits. Current research shows that the sooner a bitch is spayed, the greater the benefits. Spaying is a controversial procedure though in some parts of the world, and therefore some areas prohibit it without a valid medical reason. As a result of the main article titled The Effects of Spaying on the Racing Performance of Female Greyhounds, the data show that there is no direct difference in racing abilities in greyhounds, whether they are spayed or not. In other words, spaying has no direct effect on the racing performance of female racing greyhounds. With all this in mind and the following knowledge, the estrous cycle decreases racing performance, spaying eliminates the effects of the estrous cycle on greyhounds, and spaying has no effect on the racing performance, the following conclusions can be made. That racing greyhounds should be spayed as soon as possible before the racing careers begin. Spaying is a one-time procedure, therefore saving money and time compared to currently used medical treatments, and spaying before the racing career allows for maximum utilization of health benefits, prevents the estrous cycle from affecting racing performance in the future, and saves money and time in the long run. As a result of all these conclusions, the GBGB should recommend that female racing greyhounds be spayed before the racing careers in order to save money, time, and improve the lifespan and overall life of the female greyhounds. This is my bibliography, and thank you for listening.